No.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
And we have a special guest from across the pond.
Pom, pom, pom.
Do they call it the pond there, or is that just a UK thing?
I think the pond is between the UK and mainland Europe.
Okay,
actually.
Never mind then. Who are you?
My name is Mathias, or Matt for short. I'm from Belgium, and I came over to the US to experience a Heretic show.
Nice. And you have done a ton of extreme haunts in Europe, like all over Europe.
Well, a ton, I wouldn't say a ton, like 3 or 4 is
okay.
more likely. Because it's not that common, it's like a very recent phenomenon, actually.
Well, you did Heretic last night, and what have you done over there?
My first extreme haunt was Cracked, the second season of Cracked. And then I did a couple of incarnations of Snuffhouse, so I did the long After Dark version, and now they do these 10 to 15 minute short Snuffhouse alone versions after their regular shows. So I've done 2 of them now, the Christmas edition and the Halloween edition, and I will be back in February to do their Valentine event.
Nice. Are those in the UK or are those in Belgium?
That's all UK based.
Okay.
Like Belgium doesn't really have haunts. Like we do have like the major theme parks will have some Halloween stuff, like a couple of boo haunts, but that's it for Belgium, as far as I know. Maybe there's some weird underground thing, but I doubt it.
In general, Halloween, in America, it is big business. It is huge. How is it approached over there? How is it celebrated over there?
It's up and coming a little bit, but it's very low key. Like you won't see Halloween decorations or something like that. Actually, in my street, it's like this small neighborhood in a small town, and they will have a Halloween walk for kids, and people will put up their decorations the night itself and take them down the night itself. They won't leave them there, which I completely don't understand, because it's really cool. People will make an effort for the night, and then they just take it down. Whereas for Christmas, they will have the lights up, and that they do, and they will keep it up for a longer time. But Halloween, it's just the day, and then like very, very low key. In the UK, I think it's a lot bigger, but mainland Europe, Holland it's picking up a bit more over there, I think, but Belgium, not that much.
Now you do a website and you review all the things that you do. What's that website?
It's called Europe Haunts.
Cool. And what got you into the more extreme stuff?
Well, the thing that got me into haunts in particular was I visited a theme park called Alton Towers, and I happened to visit during Scarefest, their Halloween kind of thing. And I found out that they did extreme runs, and I had no idea what it was. So I dragged my girlfriend along. She had never done a haunt before. I had done, I think, 1 or 2 boo haunts, and we loved it. So it was like a contact haunt. It was called the Sanctuary Extreme, which is like kind of a mental institution kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And actors were allowed to touch you. They were allowed to grab you. One of them licked my ear, which was surprising. And I had expected something, I don't know, like it was a sold-out theme park with like thousands and thousands of people, and 10 people showed up. So it was very personal, very, very intimate, very immersive. And that was more or less my first contact as well with some kind of an immersive kind of a haunt. And so then I got interested and wanted to find out what else was there. And I started doing research, and that's how I eventually got to Cracked, which was my first properly extreme haunt. And before Cracked, I had only done a couple of normal haunts, actually. I did another contact one in Budapest. It's in Hungary. I was there on holiday, and we found out about it. It's called Nightmare in Budapest. And again, they told me, oh no, it's the actors won't touch you, and the first thing that happens, they just drag you away. So it wasn't like really extreme, but like a high contact haunt. And yeah, I just got into it that way.
That's so cool. And you did Heretic last night. What are the differences that you've seen between, say, Heretic, which everyone considers an extreme haunt, versus the extreme haunts that you've done?
Well, the thing to consider is I've only done 1 Heretic show. Mm-hmm. And I stepped in at a bit of a weird point where it's an anthology of so many different shows where the show has evolved over a long time. But just based on that show and the stuff I see in Europe is there's a lot of concept behind Heretic, and at the moment in Europe that's more or less absent. So the extreme stuff over there is very physical. The actors will drag you around, or it's endurance based. It's really meant to tear you down physically. But concept wise and art wise, we don't really have anything compared to what I think Blackout and Alone or Heretic and stuff like that is doing, or something even more immersive like Tension or something like that. That's, as far as I know, more or less absent. So the extreme experiences, they are just very physical, and it's like a high impact punch, like, oh my god, what is happening? But concept wise and art wise, it's a lot more simple than what I experienced yesterday, which was a weird fever dream of all these different scenes and influences and concepts. So it's simpler at the moment in the UK, I think.
That's really interesting, because I think, you know, we take it for granted, like Russell, you and I, because we go to all of these things and everything, you know, there's people have connections with the movies and they have friends that can help facilitate things, and there's always a story involved. It's not so much, it almost sounds like army training in a way, you know, in Europe. It's I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think we are very used to story-based events. And you mentioned Cracked. Mm-hmm. Is there a story at all through Cracked?
Not as such. They do have characterization, so you will have a couple of characters, but it's the presence of a character and not like a continuation of a character or something that evolves. The character is there and you're thrown into the situation, and in Cracked you don't really know what is going on and why you're being tested. There is like a hint of a storyline, but you don't know anything about it. It's like really you're a lab rat, and you're thrown into these tests and these endurance exercises, and until either you can't take it anymore or you make it to the end. But like there is no clear storyline of why you are there. It's you're thrown into it and then you're thrown out of it again.
And do they operate in America? Usually have a safe word that you can, and do they operate the same way, that there is some way that you can end the situation?
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that the end of the entire event for you if you do that?
The first year they did it, it wasn't. But now they operate on a safe word once and you're out kind of basis.
Oh, okay. And can you reveal what type of endurance stuff that you have to be put through to go through Cracked? How much can you reveal?
Cool. I actually don't know. A lot of it is based, I think, on like SAS training techniques.
Oh,
like,
okay.
There are some influences from that. You have a lot of stress positions, but there are a lot of stuff that's apparently used in special forces training to see whether you would crack under pressure or what you can withstand and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from the event itself, the cool thing that they do is there is a like not exactly the same like Tension or Jake is doing, but there is like a mini ARG kind of a thing where you can message Blake, like the main protagonist, if you can say that.
Mm-hmm.
They have secret Facebook groups, and they do occupy a lot of your time. Like for next April, it started, I think, in the beginning of last December or maybe even earlier.
Wow.
And so it's a constant barrage of tasks and questions, and you get to interact with everyone that's going through. So it's not just the event, and they really managed to create a kind of a close-knit community with the people who go through. Mm-hmm. And everyone seems to be very loyal once they go through.
Oh, okay.
So they did manage to do something really special with a fairly simple concept in a way.
That's actually recognizable, I think, Mike.
Oh, definitely.
Because, you know, we've done one of the best, most extreme haunts in America is the Victim Experience, and Mike and I both have done that twice successfully. And
The only people.
we're the only people who ever make it twice all the way through. Yeah, that's. I was the first, by the way.
Yeah, you
so
were.
Just to let Mike know that again.
That's ancient history, though.
So, not that ancient. We tease each other about that. But there is a definite family vibe about people who've gone through, and with the crew and the cast of the event itself. And it's like we don't hang out and grab beers with each other, but there is definitely a mutual respect. There is, when the victim experience didn't happen this past year, but when we showed up in Las Vegas to attend their regular haunts, the welcome is of like a returning family member. It's like there's such a great deal of respect, and the fact that we support them, and that we. I don't know. It's just like, we have a fondness for that event, and because we have such respect for it, the respect is paid back. So, it does feel like a family atmosphere to some degree, and that happens sometimes among the patrons. Blackout has a rabid fan base.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Based on, especially some of the earliest years, some of those people. And then Blackout has emerged into something different. So, their fan base is sort of not as rabid, I think, in some ways. And because also Blackout has so much more competition now in this realm. So, I totally understand that like there is a loyalty to the event.
Yeah,
once you've been through it.
The kind of a weird family vibe. I do get that with Cracked.
Yeah,
we'll actually have like these Cracked meetings where we'll just hang out and grab beers. Actually.
Yeah. It's like Blackout has done that a few times where like those of us who met each other. Mike and I originally met through a connection of Blackout. There was a Blackout gathering at a horror convention. Mm-hmm. That's where we first met, and it's like you do end up going to similar, and also if you go to similar events, it's like you like, oh wait, it's you again, and eventually the friendships form just from the fact that you show up at the same things all the time.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing yesterday. I already recognized so many people just because like the haunt community internationally is quite small still, mm-hmm. and I noticed the people who at the same time slot as me, and I was like, oh, I know this guy. Oh, I know this guy as well. Oh, I've seen pictures of this guy. And Russell is coming as well. It's,
right.
So, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I recognized you when you came out because of your picture online.
And it's one thing, and I don't know if I told you about this yet, but you mentioned that a lot of it was SAS training. It seemed to be inspired by it. Mm-hmm. There's a new show on the History Channel called The Selection, and I don't know if you've heard of it.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. So it's basically they take a bunch of civilians and put them through special forces training.
Interesting.
Just to see if they can do it. And one of the episodes, I watched it, and all I thought was, oh my God, this is the haunt episode.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So they put a bag over your head. They take you. They have you in stress positions. They put you in a claustrophobic small box while blindfolded. It's stuff like that. I was like, oh my God! Like I've done that in Blackout. I did that in another one, and it's really interesting to see like that inspiration and seeing what the special forces use to weed out people, and we do it for entertainment.
Yeah.
You should check it out, by the way.
I will definitely check it out. We're twisted, but in a good way.
Yeah.
In a healthy way. At least I think.
So with Cracked, and now that you finally have done a Heretic show, are you planning to do the Cracked versus Heretic?
I was the first one to buy a ticket.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome.
Like the people who went to Cracked before, they had, I think it was a couple of days before the general sale. But there was like riddles involved to get the passcodes to get to the tickets.
Cool.
So it really was like a joint community effort. I was like, oh, have you found? Yeah, I found. I think I got this for the password, but the username. It was like a big joint effort, and then I was actually the first, I think, to get through and get a ticket. So yeah, I'm going definitely.
Good. I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I think the battle between the two haunts in a way, the contrast will be something. I think it's going to be really good. I'm very excited.
Cool. You mentioned Snuffhouse.
Yeah.
So sort of compare Cracked and Snuffhouse if you can.
Well, Snuffhouse does have two very different versions. So during the summer they have several dates where it's Snuffhouse After Dark, and it's a 4-hour experience, and it's group based. So it's I think it was 10 to 15 people, and it's more group based, and you're put in scenarios, in exercises, in tasks where you compete against each other or have to work together. And they do tend to build up to a more psychological kind of a thing, where you're put against each other and you're made to distrust each other in a way. On the other hand, during the year, so the Halloween events and the seasonal events, they will have a 10-minute version, which is just the very high intensity, the physical stuff, a lot of force feeding in a very short amount of time. So it's very high impact, very short. And I really love the short bursts. It's like a quick hit of extreme haunt.
Right.
And I keep coming over to the UK just to do like a 10-minute thing. It's really good. The After Dark one, I didn't necessarily really enjoy that one, but I think that they are learning a lot. And I'm very curious what they'll come up with this summer, because I'll definitely go again, seeing what they do now, and I'm curious how they will address the issues. But it needed some work for me.
And you mentioned force feeding. That personally, that's something which I really I really don't want to do that. It's like I have no desire to be force fed or forced to eat anything gross. It's just like
me neither, believe me.
So do they also do the heavy physical tasks that like similar to Cracked? Or?
No, less. You did have stress positions in the long version, because the intensity of the 10-minute version, you cannot do that for 4 hours, evidently. So there they will, again, start out with some more physical task, and the physical task will come back. But it's nowhere near as physical as Cracked.
Okay.
Like, you're in a bad shape for a week after Cracked.
What type of stress positions?
Just loads of them, actually. Like, any way you can wear a muscle down, and they will use it.
Okay.
It's rough.
And then you have Cracked versus Heretic, so you're going to have that, and then
you're getting pulled into the nightmare scenario of Heretic, and back again and back again. I think it's going to go that way. Evidently, I don't know.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So how far is it from you when you go to the UK?
It's a very cheap Ryanair flight that I always use. So it's an hour flight, I think.
Okay.
But it's a trip to the airport and waiting at the airport, and an hour's flying, and then getting a rental car and driving to the destination and stuff like that. So it's always a bit of a trip, but it's worth it. I mean, it's not like I can just do it like around the corner in Belgium, and it's worth it for me. Yeah. Absolutely, no doubt. I think last year I did 8 UK trips.
Oh, wow.
And all of them in some way were haunt based, or there was in every single trip there was some horror activity involved.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the London theater scene and with what's happening, say, in LA and New York, with the more immersive stuff happening, are you starting to see that happen more? And do you see that eventually happening more for the haunts?
Well, that's a very interesting point, and I'm not the best guy to discuss it, because I only recently found out about all the immersive stuff that's going down in London. But there is a big immersive scene in London, and they do a lot of immersive theaters. They haven't connected with horror at the moment, I think. But Sleep No More apparently originated in London, which I just found out recently. But there is a big theater scene and a big immersive scene. How it'll evolve, I don't know. The UK does seem, the Halloween scene, the horror scene does seem to be picking up a lot. You see many Scream parks who will open their doors every year. There's so many new events. I think eventually, at least I hope so, that the immersive scene will pick up on that kind of a vibe and start doing these shows as well. But I recently did an immersive weekend in London where I did 3 different shows, and they were amazing, and there were some horror influences and some creepy vibes and stuff like that. So it was amazing. So I'm very curious what else will be there, and I'm kind of convinced that they will do some more stuff in the future like that.
What shows? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What shows did you see in London?
I started out with it was called Whitechapel. It was a kind of a Jack the Ripper experience, where you were either a police officer, or you were someone living on the street, or you were in a vigilante group trying to chase down the Ripper, and a lot of stuff. So they have this old-timey London scene set up with buildings and shops and a church and whatever, all inside, like pretty neatly built. And you're just thrust into it, and there will be interactions all around. You can interact with everyone, and you kind of have to find clues and try to find out who might be Jack the Ripper. And all of the time there will be sudden scenes bursting out, or actors starting to interact with each other. So you're bound to miss like half of it. But it was very cool to walk through. And the second one I did was The Last Dance, which was kind of a matchmaking institute in a dystopian future that evidently had like a darker side. That was a long one. I think I entered at like 7 or 8 p.m. I left after midnight.
Oh,
I think.
Wow, that is long.
They did a very good thing of like immersive theater to me, because you're so immersed if it's well done. Once you step out of the doors again, you have this disconnect, this burst of, oh, it's over. And they did a very good job of connecting that. It's the last dance, so you end up on the dance floor. And so after the show, there's this big disco party, and you can stay for as long as you want, and there's a bar, but everyone is still like somewhat in character, so it kind of slowly fades out instead of like breaking the connection immediately, which was a very nice thing. And then the last one was 139 Copeland Road, which was based on a seance in a potentially haunted house. They used some very, very clever effects and weird stuff that I really, really cannot comprehend. I don't know how they did it. Like every one of us, we were sitting around a round table and we felt presences behind us, and I could see the other people, but we really felt like someone was standing behind us. After the show, everyone had like the same weird, so it like at that point, like I think I saw something. I saw the same thing, and I didn't want to say that. I thought, no, it's my imagination. No way that this happened. And other people started telling like the exact same thing that I saw.
That's so cool.
I have no idea how they did it, but it was really impressive.
Oh, we need to go to London, apparently, too.
Oh, I would love to. Oh, I haven't been to London in years. So I'm a theater nerd, so I love live theater, and about, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, I spent a little bit of time in London and just had a blast. So, but at that time, the immersive stuff hadn't kicked off. So, yeah, it's like the one horror thing I really did was the Famous Woman in Black, which is still running in London. So, which is a very famous horror-related play, a very creepy ghost story, and it's actually a favorite play of mine. I've traveled to various cities here in America just to see different versions of it. So there's been like 2 versions here in Los Angeles. I traveled to Seattle, so I've seen it in London. Yeah, it's a very, very creepy play.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, if you go back to London at any point and look up Woman in Black.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely worth catching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised by how many events I could find.
Right.
Like I initially got interested by the Copeland Road one, so the seance, and I just typed in London immersive, and it was this list. And I'll have to pick and choose. I thought like maybe there's one more, but there was loads and loads of stuff.
That's so rad. Besides haunts and, immersive theater, LA and this area, and actually all across the country, like escape rooms are just blowing up. Are you seeing the same thing over there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something like you do get even in Belgium. They are popping up everywhere, and I have to admit, to my shame, that I've never done a single one.
Really?
I haven't. But it is a very popular phenomenon also in Europe. Like every city seems to have at least one. So that's a big movement into that more immersive kind of a direction that you do see happening all over the place.
And there are trends here in America where I think those are getting more thematic. We have several that are horror-based here in the Los Angeles area, and some, you have the magical-based ones, or you have the sorcerer-based ones, and then you have the detective-based ones, and so they usually have themes. But we have a couple of horror ones that are really fun here in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah, it's cool.
So definitely, highly recommend trying one.
I really would. I mean, there are a number in the UK that I've wanted to try for like a long time, but when I go over to the UK, it's like either I'm alone or I'm just with my girlfriend. And with 2 people, it's sometimes difficult. Like to it's not always possible to join a group, I think. And with 2 people, sometimes it's too small of a group to just do it by yourself. But as I keep going over to the UK, my contact list is growing, so I'm sure it won't take that long before some escape room kind of thing is going down.
Now, are you finding that you are connecting with other people from around Europe because of the haunt connections? Because that's happening with Mike and me. I now have friends across the country who, sometimes we haven't even met, but we've done similar events or sometimes the same events at different times.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And, like they find me on Facebook or something like, hey, wait, you're that guy. It's like, yeah. It's like, wait, didn't you go to Chicago? And like, yes, I did. So,
cool.
yeah. Are you finding
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the main people who will go to these experiences in Europe is a woman from Germany called Dani. She will travel to the UK as much as I do. One of the new people in the crack group, they're from Switzerland. So yeah, it's all over Europe. Like it's yeah, maybe less than what's happening here. But yeah, definitely there are a lot of connections being formed, mainly to the UK part, mainly with UK people. But you do see like every country will have like 1 or 2 or 3 or a couple of people like, oh, you're these guys.
Yeah.
Like for example, in the UK you also have like a scare convention, ScareCon, and a lot of like I was standing there talking in Dutch, and then some, hey, yeah, you're from Belgium, yeah, we're from Holland, we're doing this show. Oh yeah, I did that show. So it's coming together for sure. Like that convention is growing, and it's a lot of fun.
With everything that you've seen and everything that you've heard about, what's the one haunt or experience that you wish you could do if money was no issue?
Well, HERETIC was the one, actually. I was very intrigued by what they were doing. So I got a glimpse of what is one of the possibilities that HERETIC can offer. Obviously, tension or the ARG-based events that are like spun over like multiple weeks or months. If I could do that, like tension, if I would have the possibility to receive phone calls and emails and okay, go to this location now and go there, it would be amazing. I think what they're doing now with Have You Seen Jake sounds like a lot of fun. Like these things, yeah, I'd love to do something like that.
And that's the cool thing, because I think you can, you know, like there was like Vicky, who's in the UK, she's Blondie on the Tension forums, but she, like, same thing, she came into it and was like, I'm in the UK, like I'm just following along, nothing's going to happen, and next thing you know, she gets a phone call.
Oh, really?
You know, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I know at least with the tension stuff, like that can happen.
Okay.
But yeah, like all of that stuff is it's just so much fun, and the cool thing is you don't have to be here. You know, like with the Have You Seen Jake stuff, same thing. I know this guy Taylor went on a work trip and he got a phone call at the hotel that he was staying in. You know, and like, so it's like, I feel like location doesn't matter, or it's starting to not matter for the precursor of these events, which is a good thing because everybody can participate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Still, I'd always want to do the real, like the events where you get to meet with the actors and stuff like that. That's a kind of a level I do want to see in a way. But still, yeah, it would be cool, like to have a glimpse. But it would leave me wanting even more. Right.
Then you'd have to move here. And
You don't know how many times like people like said that to me. Oh, you should move to the UK. You're here all the time anyway. So yeah, now LA will be the next. Like move to the UK, move to LA.
Besides HERETIC, what were your main points of things that you wanted to do while you were here, do or see?
I had no clue.
Oh, really?
I really had no clue. I booked tickets based. I booked the flight and the hotel just based on the HERETIC show, and then I thought, okay, and for the rest I'll see LA. It's a huge city. I'm sure I'll bump into stuff to do, and then, yeah, just very basic stuff. I saw the sights. Cool. I went to the observatory and the Hollywood sign and to downtown LA and to Silver Lake and I did the beaches. Just very, very basic stuff. I just really came to see HERETIC in a way.
Mm-hmm. That's cool though. And it's cool that you were able to just do like the touristy stuff, get that out of the way, mm-hmm. you know, and that way when you come back, that's out of the way. You can focus more on other things.
Yeah, I was looking into like any other event that would be happening now, but it seems to be a very quiet week. Mm-hmm. Because I think I just miss out on Screenshot Productions. I just missed out on one of the ticketed events of Have You Seen Jake? ABC Productions, I was looking into that, but I'm missing the C part. I think it's later. I was hoping it would be now in January, but it'll be a bit later. Yeah, Tension obviously is over. Delusion was over. I was hoping for extensions as ridiculously long to reach into January, but yeah, evidently it's not gonna happen. But yeah, the main purpose of the trip was to see the LA haunt scene for as much as I could, and it turned out it was just HERETIC, but that's quite something already.
That's good. I'm glad the first impression of the LA haunt scene is good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It blew my mind because it was so different and I had no idea what to expect, but yeah, I really loved it.
Now, with something like that, you know, one of the things that we love is the mystery and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you the same way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
100%.
I keep thinking of HERETIC versus Cracked for you.
So you have this website, and you're doing these events, and you're going back and forth to UK. What's your day job? What is your career?
I am a bar manager and an event manager in an art center.
Oh.
So it's very, very flexible.
That was one of the reasons I asked that question.
Yeah, I have a couple of fixed hours where you can easily find someone to replace you and just shift all the hours around. And the event stuff is really just random. And I have a second guy to, if I can't go, it's like, okay, can you do this one? And it's all really, really, really flexible. It can be kind of everything between corporate events or private, like weddings even during the summer. Yeah, it's a big art center. They will do dance productions. They used to do theater. There is a movie theater. There are concerts. We have parties. Like in the bar, we can have in one single weekend we can have anything between like a cake afternoon for the elderly and young families and a techno rave and a jazz concert, and it's very, very varied. And yeah, it's a really cool place to work.
Without trying to put you on the spot, it seems like you have a perfect place to do your own event. Have you ever thought of doing your own thing?
Yeah, of course, but I don't think the interest in Belgium is right there to attract enough people. I think, yeah, of course, it's been on my mind, but it's daunting because I don't have the technical or the legal or the financial knowledge of how to put everything together. Yeah, I'd love to at some point, but I don't think the interest is there, and yeah, I'd need a lot of people to help me. For sure.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's good about this community. You know, when you get to when you get to that point, you can reach out to anyone, and if they have answers, they'll help you. You know, that's one of the things.
Yeah, the experience is definitely there. Yeah, I'd love to at some point. It's in the back of my mind. I have like a couple of things that's if I could do something like that, but I'd need this and this and this. I don't know. It's there, but it's a long way off, I think.
Well, let us know when you do.
I will.
You just reminded me of Justin in Chicago, just simply because that's someone who had a vision for a show, and he created Miasma. Which I don't know if you've seen any of the web artwork on Miasma or not, but
like vaguely, I came across it, but I'm not too familiar.
Yeah, I actually went to Chicago this past Halloween season and did his event. It was a lot of fun. It was you definitely saw influences from other shows, but you know, he skirted the edge of extreme. Mm-hmm. And I will say he gave me the most intense moment of my last season.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just like as far as haunt event goes, you know, so it's just like that's someone who decided to jump in, and he reached out to the friends in the community. He had theater friends. He created an event. And I think we're going to see that more and more happening as different types of people. It's like you have access to a venue. It's like you have a background managing events. Like, okay, fine. So if you partner with someone else who has a theatrical background or something, I think that's how this community is growing. And I think that's how the immersive stuff is going to continue growing, is because the immersive stuff, I think, in this country is evolving because of the different influences on the various events. So, you know, when you talk about Cracked, you talk about Snuffhouse, they sound, and that's where I was going with this to get back around to that, like how theatrical are they? Because they don't sound specifically theatrical. So Cracked especially, but is Snuffhouse lean toward the theatrical vibe? And like, I mean, you just came from the Heretic show.
Slightly more, but not as much, no. Like it does have a little bit more theatrical moments, but nothing compared to the stuff you see here, I think.
Right, okay.
Like it's not like I get the vibe that they really want to I don't know how to put it. It's the extreme events right now, they're just highly physical, like a shock to the mind and the body, but there will not be a lot of theatrics to it. And Snuffhouse is a little bit more to that side, but not so much, I think.
Mm-hmm. That may be where it develops.
Yeah, I hope so. And I'm quite curious how they will develop the After Dark version, because I think now they have built up their characters a lot more than In the first one, Russ McKamey was like the main villain, but it was all done through pre-recorded videos, for example. So there was no interaction with the main villain.
And which event was this?
This was the first After Dark event, so the long
And After
version.
Dark was Snuffhouse? No.
Yeah, it's Snuffhouse.
Oh, it's Snuffhouse.
After Dark.
Okay,
so
all right.
it's either Snuffhouse After Dark, which is the 4-hour version in a group, or Snuffhouse Alone, the 10 to 15
Got
minute
it,
version
right.
where you go alone. And yeah, that was one of the problems for me with After Dark, that you just see pre-recorded videos of Russ McKamey, and there is no real interaction. And then you have the Tormentors, which are his lackeys in that show, but they step to the foreground now. It's a lot better because of that, because your main threat is present near you the entire
Right.
time, and not just someone following orders from a screen.
Oh, okay.
And I think now that they have like established a base and even a fan base, that's really cool about Snuffhouse. During the Halloween event, a lot of people went in, like a lot more people than I would imagine, because they pour out of the normal haunt part. So it's a big walkthrough with, I don't know, 6 or 7 different haunted houses. It's a pretty big park, and then you end up in a bar, and then you have the option of going through Snuffhouse, and they say it's 18 plus and you have to sign a waiver. And I thought, no way is anyone going to do that, because interest in extreme haunts is always like, it's a small community. And so many people went through. There was a line of people who would never attempt anything extreme, like if it was a big ticketed event, but because they had the chance and it was there, a lot of people went through. And not that many made it. I think 90% safered it or something like
Wow.
that, because evidently they didn't really know what was going to happen. And like the first scene got like a lot of them. And I can understand why, because it's a properly rough show. Especially the Halloween version was intimidating. I came out, I was speechless. It was really, really intense. But it was really cool to see so many people like try an extreme hunt and still come out, even if they didn't make it all the way through. But they erupted and they started talking about it. And so I think Snuffhouse is establishing a kind of a fan base, or more of a base, to open up more opportunities for extreme hunts across the UK. I hope so, at least. And I think that the new stuff that they will be doing for the long event, that it will be quite interesting, because they will be making something quite different, I think. They also partnered up with Fringe Immersive, so they will bringing the Dead of Night shows to the UK as well.
I'm not familiar with those shows.
I think they're out in New York.
Yeah. Fringe Immersive is based
Oh, I didn't make that connection. Okay, yeah, I have heard of them. Yes.
Yeah, and they will be bringing some Fringe shows to the UK as well. And I think there you already have a bit of a more theatrical background to an extreme event. So slowly but surely they're inching their way towards a kind of a connection between theatricals and extreme haunts.
Interesting. So what's on your calendar for this year that you know? You've got the Heretic and Cracked show.
Yeah, that's in April. Then in February, I'm doing the Valentine's event at Scare Kingdom. So that's also with. So they have. I think it's gonna be based on a Fringe show. It's a zombie in the dark experience where you have like a single glow stick, something like that.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
afterwards you have another Snuffhouse experience. They always change it up thematically. So that's in February. April will be Cracked versus Heretic in the UK, and I hope to be able to go to Heretic's Amsterdam event. They have a kind of a private event, and it's not really known at the moment whether people outside of like the group who booked the event, to say, whether anyone else will be able to participate. But yeah, to have a Heretic show that I can actually drive to is something very new to me. So I hope that April will be like the double Heretic whammy.
Right.
Apart from that, I don't have any fixed plans. Evidently, like something during the Halloween season, I kind of hope to be making back to the US for Halloween. I don't know whether that'll happen, because expensive and planning and everything like that. Last year I did a UK trip, so just like picked a part of the UK and did everything around that vicinity. So, but there will be something in October for sure, but nothing fixed.
Right.
And if you can get out here for October, it will change your life.
I know.
Yeah. Give as much time as you can, because there's a wealth of different things to choose from in this area, and very different variety of types of events too. We are very, very fortunate in this area.
Yeah, I would say every Halloween period, but actually every single period of the year, I'm just looking at that article. I was like, come on, I want to do stuff like this. Like sitting there drooling all over my PC.
Is this your first time in the U.S.?
Yeah, it is.
What are the biggest just cultural differences that you've seen? I know like when I went to Europe for the first time, it was like, wow, everything is so old and historical. And I come back here and it's like, everything's new and dirty. But like are there things that are obvious to you that you've picked up on, that you've seen?
That the cliches are somewhat true. Like, I don't know, like everything that we are... And LA seems very familiar because we see it in movies and in video games all the time. And I didn't expect it to be as correct as it is. But
right.
it feels like I'm in a very familiar place while it's completely new. Biggest cultural stuff, I don't know. Nothing really completely out of the order. Obviously, there is a different eating culture, and you guys drive cars more and stuff like that. But nothing like to blow your mind like
right.
that there's something that different. I don't know. You're more Americans are more vocal. Belgians will be quite quiet and silent most of the time, and close and guarded in a way. I don't know. Nothing really out of the ordinary. It's different for sure, but I can't pinpoint like one single thing. Like, oh, that's so weird that you guys do that. There's a lot of weird stuff that you guys do, but nothing. That's just nothing that pops out.
Understandable.
Tell us a little bit about your website and what it covers.
After the Halloween trip I did in the UK, it was crazy. Like we were there for a week. We drove over 1,000 miles to like visit every single thing in the vicinity, and it's impossible to do it all the time. Mm-hmm. And people will say, oh, next year you have to come there and there and there and there. And I'm like, yeah, but I it's too much. It's impossible. I don't really want to. So I'm just going to pick and choose the events that I want to do, and I'll write about them. Mm-hmm. It's not really intended as I don't know. Yeah, it's more something to I hope to inspire people and to get them to know that there are shows like this out there, because every single time I tell people about immersive horror, they have no idea. They had never heard about it.
Right.
Maybe it's the same with a lot of people here, but especially in Belgium, like you get the weirdest reactions and people don't know it and they don't understand it, and it's just I don't know. If I can get some people to try it out, that's good. But it's not like I started the website with a mission or something.
It sounds like a personal passion project.
Yeah, in a way.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. That's how my haunt life began.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the best way to go about it. You do what you love. And, that way you have your own rules. You don't have to feel obligated to do anything. Like, no, like, this is just what I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's great.
And you will find friends coming to you, I think, because that's what Mike and I have found as we've gone to events, and people have approached us and said, like, just because you mentioned this, I thought I might like it, so I'm trying it. Mm-hmm. So what you just said about you're writing about something that you enjoy and you think others might, like, it's
like,
kind of the
like-minded people.
Yeah, like-minded people, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mike and I both feel. I'm not trying to speak for you, Mike, but
but you are.
Yeah, but I am. Just shut up and agree with me, Mike.
Okay.
So it's like the idea that, like, you have discovered this, and it sounds like you've discovered this fairly recently.
Yeah. I think so. The Alton Towers, Touchy Haunt,
Mm-hmm.
that was in 2013, and then I did some. Just some Halloween stuff, like the theme park stuff, like the things that you find immediately. And that's how I got more interested. But then I started looking, and it was last April was my first event, my first extreme event.
Right.
And so in what, like 3/4 of a year, I made it to the US to do like one of the things here.
That's awesome. And I just think your website will probably draw people to you, and you'll find more events that way.
Yeah.
So because that's what we have found is, like, people will, like, hey, do you know about this? And people come to us and like, hey, I found that because of you, and it reminded me of this. And it's just slowly connecting the dots. Mm-hmm.
So I actually have two very important questions.
Ooh.
The first one is, so we have a tradition when we interview people, because we have this rivalry, this chocolate rivalry. Are you Team Kit Kat or are you Team Snickers? And we would like to offer you a Kit Kat or a Snickers.
I'm actually very unopinionated about the both of them.
Oh, that's fine.
Like I
Double fist it, man.
it's really a matter of the moment. Like one time I will choose the Kit Kat, but the other time I will choose the Snickers. I don't know. At the moment it's Kit Kat, but it like in 20 minutes or so it could be the Snickers.
Understandable.
Oh. Well, I don't know how we'll go with the ginger beer, but you're more than welcome to one if you would like one.
Thank you very much.
In my very other important question, and you can tell it's important because I keep emphasizing how important it is.
Oh yes,
But
I picked up on that.
is Jean-Claude Van Damme like a national hero?
Huh.
What? Don't laugh. People in America need to know these things because he's born in Belgium.
I just feel like I caught this like perfect glimpse into Mike's brain with that question.
Come on, man! I grew up on Bloodsport when I was taking karate.
Bloodsport 2?
Nah, I
I
just
know.
got a glimpse into your life.
When I was a kid, he was like a big presence. I don't know whether he is still, but when I was growing up, yeah, it was Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Absolutely.
That's
But,
awesome.
Yeah, I suppose he will be. When he does something, it will be smeared all over the press. Like,
Okay.
if he makes a new, like the
The
commercial
Super
where
Bowl
he does the split.
Yeah, that was
Like,
insane.
that was, oh, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme. Look, he's from Belgium. Like, so yeah, in a way, I suppose so. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad that got answered. I can sleep tonight happy. So I think that's about it. That wraps it up. That's a good place to leave off. I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme is a good place to leave off
Sure.
with anything.
Our national hero.
Yeah, because he finishes people off like, what?
You have the perfect facial expression when you did that.
Oh man. It's not like he's fighting Tong Po right now or anything, but sorry. I mean, we could just have we should do a Jean-Claude Van Damme podcast.
So, and the reason I referenced Bloodsport 2 was I worked in a video store, and Bloodsport 2 was so damn popular. It was ridiculous, and we would always go like, "Have you seen Bloodsport?" Like, no, we like Bloodsport 2. Like, but it's like, there's no reasoning with some people.
But yeah, I mean, he's not even, none of the characters except Tong Po are even in it.
Yeah.
God,
So we would try to try to steer people like to the original. Like,
I don't think I've seen the second one.
Oh, really?
Huh?
His brother gets revenge,
Oh.
kind of.
Okay.
That's pretty much, because of the fire, right?
I think so. I think that's
The
it.
fire
yeah.
at the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
God,
Wow, we have really gone down a rabbit hole here.
the next thing we're going to talk about is American Ninja movies.
Ooh.
Which, American Ninja 2, I like better than 1, so...
I'd have to revisit them. I'd have to revisit them. So I don't remember them that well.
All right, one more question. What's your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
I haven't seen one for so long. I have no idea. It really was when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. I wouldn't know. I did see Bloodsport a lot of times. I liked Street Fighter a lot at the time.
Oh, yeah. And there's Lionheart as well.
Time Cop. I don't know. I couldn't answer it.
We like to put people on the spot. If you couldn't tell.
At the time, it might have been Street Fighter. I was a fan of Street Fighter, and I loved Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. So let's say Street Fighter. I don't know. It's not his best movie by far.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it was something special, I think.
Cool.
Street Fighter.
Who's your favorite Street Fighter character to play?
I think I like Dawson,
Really?
but I suck at Street Fighter. Like Mortal Kombat, I can do a little bit because it's easy, well easier. But Street Fighter, I can't do it. I'm really bad at Street Fighter.
We should find an arcade.
Blank Guy's cool as well.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's who I use. Russell?
You're not talking my game.
We recorded another podcast about how he's not a gamer.
I'm not.
So it's funny to
I'm not.
ask him.
So.
It's a shame you do.
Robotron?
Wow.
And I sucked at Robotron, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
So, which, by the way, I mean, Robotron is basically a zombie movie. It is. I mean, think about what you're doing in Robotron. You're fighting hordes of zombies.
Aren't you fighting robots?
Yes, but they behave like zombies.
Robots are programmed.
I'm a horror guy. I saw them as zombies rather than robots.
Nods of disapproval.
Yeah. We need a sound effect for me when this happens.
The
'cause
mic
this happens
disapproval
so
sound
much.
effect.
The shaking my head sound. You can't. Robots cannot be zombies.
But they can behave like zombies.
If they are programmed to.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, fine. Robotron has robots that are programmed like zombies.
That's your opinion.
So that's the way I played the game. And I lost all the time.
Maybe you should get out of your box.
Okay.
It should be something you try. You have lots of these like horror indie kind. I love Layers of Fear. I don't know whether you play that one.
No.
It genuinely frightened me in the beginning. So you play as like this tormented artist, and he walks around his mansion hallucinating. So the walls are constantly changing, and,
Oh,
and
wow.
the rooms are collapsing, and he's just going through like a weird mental breakdown kind of a thing. And everything they do, like if you play with headphones, like the sound effects and the visuals and everything, like it was properly scary.
Oh, interesting.
We just talked about doing VR, like horror stuff.
Yeah.
And like I did the Resident Evil demo, and
Yeah.
I have to like peek around corners.
I did it without a VR set, so it's. I think it would be frightening as hell.
It is. I jumped.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
so-
looking forward to this.
I saw Catatonic, which is a small horror short. There's this one moment, like the original screenings of Catatonic, you were strapped inside a wheelchair, so your hands are in exactly the same position, and they will have like shock pads underneath you and stuff like that. And because your arms are restrained, there is one moment in the movie where they will give you an injection, and seeing that in VR, like them coming up close, it's weird. It feels so realistic, and then your arm is in that position, and like you see the needle approaching, and you're just, it's very. You can have very physical, real reactions. Like I was in a VR experience where I was on top of a construction yard, and was this beam that was teetering, and my entire balance system, my inner ear, said, "You're falling, you're falling, you're falling." And it's a very physical response to something that you're just seeing. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, I was playing Rush of Blood. It's from Until Dawn, and you're on a roller coaster, and the same thing. As soon as I go down the roller coaster, I feel it in my stomach.
Yeah.
I'm not claustrophobic at all, and I had a claustrophobia attack not an attack, but a very real feeling of claustrophobia in a VR experience. So it was a kind of a thing where if you look away, something will happen where you're not looking. And I was in a brick room, and every time I looked back, the room was smaller, and I looked back, and it was smaller. And you end up in like this tiny, tiny room, and I'm not claustrophobic whatsoever, and I was really frightened at that point. It's weird how it can affect you, just like by putting you in an environment that feels real in some way, even though the graphics can be terrible, and still it feels really real.
Yeah,
It's an interesting medium, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting and to see how they develop and how they use techniques like that to make it even more intense. After I had played the Rush of Blood for a while, you know, when I took the headset off and I'd been doing that, and we were also doing another thing called I Expect You to Die. I actually felt nauseous for a while, and as long as I had it on, I didn't realize that. But when I stepped away from it, it was like, oh wait, I'm nauseous. And it was just the kind of realization of like, oh, that physically affected me. And I think it was mainly the roller coaster that did that to me.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing to get right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I saw like a short movie where the camera wasn't necessarily like it was almost like a first-person view, but the camera wasn't following the character exactly, and immediately it felt so off and wrong and very otherworldly, and a lot of people got sick during that movie.
Well, yeah, it's there's what was I believe it was a Ty West film, wasn't it? Trigger Man. Yeah, it's like there was a first person movie several years ago that numerous people got ill during because of the camera work, and that was not VR.
Isn't it last year? I can't remember the name.
Oh, I know the action movie that you're.
Yeah.
I remember the movie you're talking about, but I know, yeah, people were worried about motion sickness and things like that.
Oh, Hardcore Henry.
Yeah, Hardcore Henry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I remember people getting sick when Cloverfield came out.
Oh yeah, that's true.
No, it's going to be interesting where the VR takes us. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, because it is something that physically affects you, because you're messing with your
Absolutely.
universe, you're messing with your brain.
Well, it already got to a point for me because I played so much and I played so many games where your hands are in VR, like Batman and I Expect You to Die and, Rush of Blood, that when I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I went to get a drink and I saw my hands as VR hands. I was like, okay, open the fridge. And it was like, wait a minute. No, this is real. Like, because my hands were in the same position. And it was just, it was such a weird feeling. It's like, oh my God, it's taking over. Yeah.
Oh.
I did some like Vive games, and they're amazing at like tracking the hand movements. It's so real, and it feels this stupid, simple like bow and arrow kind of game. And if you miss, it's because you missed. It's really your own fault
Yeah.
because it's so precise what you're doing. It's cool.
I love it. I love the future. Okay, we super digress.
Yes, we did.
But it was fun. It was a good conversation about movies and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Well,
Or Van Damme.
absolutely. So, well, thank you for stopping by and sharing part of your adventure with us.
It was my
Yeah,
pleasure.
Well,
thank you
welcome
so
to
much.
America.
Thank you.
Now you get robbed. No.
So, I'm really happy that we both saw the Heretic show last night. It really was, I think it's a good introduction to something very different from what you've seen,
Oh, yeah.
from what you've said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think America, it sounds like, has more theatrical stuff. So, I hope that spreads. I hope you get more tastes of that
I hope
in
so.
your adventures.
It was cool to see the middle ground. I've seen some theatrical productions, like actual on the theater side, without any horror links to it. And it's now Heretic was a little bit like the exact middle ground between these weird theater shows where you're somewhat part of the experience, not immersive, but where you're inside a kind of an event. And the very hardcore physical extreme stuff. It's right there in the middle, and that's something I really wanted to experience. So, yeah, it was good.
Good. Glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
Thank you so much again, for taking the time out and talking with us. I'm super excited that we finally got to meet because we've been talking for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
If people want to find out more information about your website or you, where can they go?
I have a Facebook page and a WordPress page. So if you either search for Europe Haunts, it's just in one word on Facebook, you will find the Facebook page, or just Google it, Europe Haunts, and then there's a WordPress site. On the Facebook page, I will mention my own articles, and if I find something really interesting that I cannot visit myself, but just articles from other websites, I will post them there, like just stuff that I think is really interesting. And the WordPress site is just my own ramblings about the stuff that I got to experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a safe trip back.
I will try to. I think I survived the worst part.
That's very true.
I worked in a movie theater in the 80s, and we would play the kung fu films and things like that. And Shokasugi was this actor who, in my opinion, was just not very good.
Oh, it's an actor. I thought it was a movie.
No, it's
that should tell you something.
It's an actor, and
But you said it was a movie or actor in the 80s?
He was an actor in the 80s.
When
yes.
you were working in a theater?
Yes.
I was in school.
I'm young at heart.